I feel like demos are very underappreciated in this gaming landscape. They've always been around. You used to get whole demo discs with a bunch of different games to try. And I really wonder, especially today when games are more expensive than ever, why demos aren't more popular. Maybe it's a tempting fate kind of thing. You try 5 demos and you're tempted to buy 5 whole games. But I don't know, I sort of see the appeal of like a video game buffet table, trying out a bunch of things that you might not have tried in a normal circumstance. And on the developer side, I imagine it's a really interesting challenge to sort of create a bite-sized package of what your game is all about. Yet at the same time, leave people wanting more, wanting to experience the full game once it's out. Well, I had these thoughts floating around in my head. It's a very busy time in life right now, and checking out full games has been really hard to fit into the schedule, so I thought that demos would be a nice in-between for this dilemma. Fortunately, there's plenty of demos out there for games that I'm looking forward to, so I picked 2 in particular of interest. The Adventures of Elliot, a Square Enix game in the HD 2D style, and Mina the Hollower, the long-awaited new IP by the creators of Shovel Knight. I tried out both these demos today, and I thought I'd share what I made of them. Starting with Adventures of Elliot. This game was announced a couple of months ago in the Nintendo Partner Showcase, and I remember it sparking a bit of a light controversy. Or rather, resurging a debate, as the HD 2D art style doesn't hit the way that it used to. Which is interesting to me because it hasn't stopped looking good. I personally don't have a ton of experience playing games in this art style. I've never played any of the Octopath games, for instance. I think they're really the poster child of this art style. People look at this and they go, Octopath style game. I've only ever played Live Alive and I thought it looked incredible. And I played Elliot today and I also think it looks incredible. This fascinating mashup of 2D sprites with 3D buildings and landscape assets with extremely vibrant and dynamic lighting. I find this style still incredibly appealing, but clearly the style has sort of worn out its welcome for a large community of people. There's been maybe 6 or 7 total games over the last 6 or 7 years to share this exact art style. And I even think in that original partner showcase, they had an Octopath reveal directly before Adventures of Elliot. It was a whole thing, but we're months past that now. Elliot is slated to release sometime in 2026. It could be a while before we see it out, but from the little I played, I really enjoyed it. The thing that separates Elliot the most compared to Octopath and other HD 2D games is not the visuals, but the gameplay. I was hazy on the details of the initial teaser trailer, so I was going in thinking that it might have like RPG elements, and it kinda does, but it's not an RPG in the sense that you're getting experience and leveling up kind of thing. It didn't take long for me to pick up on this game's inspirations. I mean, look at us. We're walking around, we're hitting things with a sword, we're breaking pots, shooting arrows, and throwing bombs on cracked walls. Yeah, if you're a fan of 2D Zelda games, then you're in very familiar territory with Adventures of Elliot. There's even a little fairy character here. We'll get to her. There's not a ton of story showcased within this demo. I'm sure there's more in the grand scheme of the game, but it opens in the way that like a really old Dragon Quest game would. It sets up the world, and here's a kingdom with a king. We're an adventurer. We've been assigned to go check out some ruins. That's essentially all we have. We see a little bit of Elliot's character. He's definitely proud of what he does. He's definitely respectful in the presence of a king. Just an all-around, like, good hero type. We're given a big map to just run around and explore in at our leisure, and it really quickly got its hooks in me. Smacking stuff with your sword, you have a charge attack, that's something. Just kind of hitting stuff and finding things. That's always a part of Zelda that I really love. You're just kind of finding stuff out in the wild. And look at that, I'm finding shrines, like Breath of the Wild style shrines. I only found 2, and one of them was a combat test, and the other one was more of a maneuverability test with a bunch of arrows being shot at me. And my reward was heart pieces, basically. Like I said, very familiar ground. I did find a new weapon type, which was interesting. It was this big, like, sickle and chain that I could swing out in long ranges or spin it around me and do, like, a radius attack. I could even pull enemies close to me, so that certainly made things more interesting. But something else in Elliot's repertoire that I found very cool were the fairy abilities, given to us by Faye. We got a little fairy companion, Navi style, and I know it's the popular thing to make Navi's chatty jokes. Navi never really got under my skin personally, but it's a gaming joke as old as game coverage itself. But yeah, did I sure get a taste of the Navi-isms with Faye here. She's extremely chatty, commenting on just about everything. It mostly blends in the background after a while, but if there were a slider to bring it down a couple notches, I certainly would have done it. But it's all good because the fairy powers are incredible. There's this dash that you get, this kind of ongoing dash that only stops when you either run out of Fae energy or you slam into something. You go really fast and go for a really long time. Like after I did my first walk around and exploring everything in this area, I just sort of started dashing through it and it felt like I could get anywhere in a split second. A surprisingly generous and versatile tool. And the second power was the warp, which definitely seems more designed for puzzle solving. You can control where Faye is flying using the right analog stick, and wherever she is, you can then warp to her position, jumping over large gaps or even sneaking behind enemies. It's handy, and I can imagine that later in this game there could be some really fascinating puzzles using this mechanic. Finally, there are these crystals called magicite. You collect these all throughout the game. Each color crystal seems to be assigned to different items you have, like there's some for the sword, there's some for the bow and arrow, there's some for the bombs, and they do all sorts of things. They up your attack power, they up your attack speed. You can only equip a certain number of them at a time, so you'll frequently be managing what power-ups you want when. There's a little booth in the town where you can buy a whole bunch of magicite at once. I got like 10 of them, and that was all I ever needed. I played on normal difficulty, and I can't say that I was ever in extreme risk of death. Some fights got close, particularly the last boss encounter that you get before the demo ends, but between phase powers and the health potions and all of the health upgrades that I gotten from the shrines, I was pretty much fine. I did play on normal though. I wonder if hard would have boosted things up a significant notion. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say on Elliot. It took me about an hour and a half to complete the entire demo, though I feel like there's even some more like nooks and crannies that I didn't even get to see. If you're into SNES era RPGs, or especially if you're into Zelda and you haven't looked at this game yet, I really think it's up your alley. Now, Mina the Hollower. Unlike Elliot, Mina is a game that I have been aware of for a really long time and have been watching its progress with great interest. Mina was created by Yacht Club Games, which you are probably aware of as the creators of Shovel Knight. And as far as I know, this is the first new IP that they have done ever? They've been in the Shovel Knight dimension for a really long time. Shovel Knight was in like 2015. They made a bunch of expansion campaigns for Shovel Knight. Then there were some spin-offs like Pocket Dungeon and Shovel Knight Dig, which is that a spin-off? Is that a sequel? I don't actually know much about this. But all these years later, they are spreading their wings into a new character, a new genre, and to the surprise of no one, it is extremely well polished and looks wonderful. There's a very familiar Game Boy Color aesthetic going on across this whole game. In fact, the moment you lay eyes on it, you will probably think Link's Awakening. It was sort of happenstance that the two demos I chose to pick for this video ended up being both Zelda-likes. Though I would also say that Mina has a lot of Castlevania in its DNA, particularly with with the gothic horror themes throughout the entire game. You play as Mina, and she's immediately got a lot more interesting things going on than Elliot did, at least as the demo chose to portray. She's an inventor, and she's been called back to a town that she provided power for through a spark generator. After 10 years of working order, the machine has broken down, and she's been called back to investigate. But things go bad quickly. Her boat is attacked by a kraken, she crashes into the shore, and is immediately attacked by all sorts of enemies. You get to choose between 3 different weapon types: a set of twin knives, a whip with a mace on the end, or a big destructive hammer. Once you pick a weapon, that's your weapon. You don't get to switch through them freely throughout the demo. So whatever weapon you go with is what you're sticking with. Though the demo is much shorter than Elliot's demo. I played it twice. The first time with the whip because with all the Castlevania aesthetic going on anyway, it just felt appropriate. But then the second time around, I picked the twin knives as they were a lot more akin to having Link's sword. The first time around, it took me about 30 minutes to get to the end. And the second time, I was much faster. I knew my way around and got a lot better at the combat. So that only took about 20 minutes. So this seems like a demo that's designed for repeat playthroughs to try out all the weapons and see which one matches up with your preferences. While I didn't do a run with it, I do think the hammer is interesting as well, as it not only has a charge attack, but also a dodge roll. I suppose big heavy weapon with a dodge roll makes it pretty Souls equivalent, which is appropriate because this game's pretty hard. Unlike Elliot, I definitely died a good number of times in both playthroughs. The enemies, particularly these mice guards, are extremely relentless and do a ton of damage. But you do have plenty of tools in your arsenal to take care of them. There are Castlevania-style sub-weapons that you can collect. I mean, these axes, wears its inspiration on its sleeve. But more interesting is Mina's native ability to jump and then dive under the ground. While it takes some getting used to, this vastly increases your maneuverability. You can jump farther as you pop out of the ground, and you can even go under entire obstacles or dig underneath enemies and pop up behind them. There's a lot you can do with it. All throughout the game, you're collecting skulls from enemies, and when you reach a certain threshold of skulls, you level up, increasing your attack or your defense or the power of your sub-weapons, whichever you choose. But just like Shovel Knight, if/when you die, you drop all of your things, and you have to go all the way back to that spot to pick them up again. If you die before you pick them up, they are lost for good. There will certainly be times where you lose all your things and it doesn't feel great, but it's all part of the experience. You come back, you get stronger, you get more experienced, and you take care of the problem. Even though it was a bite-sized appetizer, I am really interested in this story. Lionel is Mina's apprentice who's been holding the fort while Mina was away all this time. But now that Mina is back, things have really changed. Lionel's sort of become a pop figure of sorts to the town, and it definitely seems to be going to his head a little. He doesn't even seem to be aware that his town is currently on fire, or he is aware, which raises all other sorts of questions. Mina is just assaulted with bad news every moment of this demo, but she handles it all expertly, making her a really cool character to be. I enjoyed my time with Mina a lot. I think I've got a lot of room to grow. There's some mechanics that even I still don't fully grasp, and I'm definitely still dying a lot, but I'm having a ton of fun. This is a very fast-paced, challenging title that I think is going to appeal to a ton of audiences. This game was originally supposed to come out only a few days ago on Halloween. It has unfortunately since been delayed, but that is no problem. There seem to be amazing games coming out every week right now, so it's all right if one of them chooses to take a break. I'm sure it will be amazing whenever it decides to come out. And the same sentiment goes to Elliot. It's a cool experience getting like an appetizer, knowing that the main course of these games are coming down the line. This is a little outside my usual, but I'm pleased with this experiment. Let me know if you tried either of these demos and let me know what you think. Are there any other demos that you think I should give a try? I'm sure there's a vast sea out there of things to try. But as for today, both of these games get a thumbs up from me, and I will be looking forward to their release. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.